I'm saying, the opportunity, if like convince them that ISO 9000 is good for everybody.
Yeah,
very good.
Yeah.
You know, the concerns they spared the other time that something it will not be beneficial.
Able to do it.
It's a misconception. They will be able to do it. Yeah. I mean,
Right.
the new standard is a bit complicated, but if you get a good coach, you're fine.
Okay. So welcome, ladies and gentlemen who are joining us for today's webinar. We thank you for making time to connect with us. As usual, this has become one of our WACOMP webinar series, as we call it, Fridays, 11 a.m. And today we are on your way to talk about the concepts and benefits of ISO 9001. I think those who joined earlier had our resource person, Jamina, talking about it. Today we want to delve in and talk about the benefits of ISO 9001, let you understand that it's possible to do it. And we are here to help you, to coach you, to direct you, so that you'll be able to overcome the various challenges and phobia associated with the ISO. You're welcome to WACOMP. This is the West Africa Competitiveness Program, the Ghana component. I'm your regular host, if I should say, for now. And today, as I've indicated, we're talking all about ISO 9001, the very benefits associated with this whole ISO implementation. So Fred would take us through. Like I said, those of you who have joined who know us, those who do not know us, it's just a quick second whilst we wait for others to join. WACOMP, as we all know, is the West Africa Competitiveness Program. It's funded by the European Union and implemented in Ghana by UNIDO, one of the UN agencies, the United Nations Industrial Development Organizations. And here we have three main value chains: cosmetics and personal care products. We have cassava and its derivatives. We have fruits, mango, and pineapple. And these webinars over the past few weeks have all been geared towards quality, helping producers and SMEs to live up to expectations in the markets to make sure that our products meet the various quality standards and quality expectations from all the clients and all our producers and all our buyers. Today is no exception. We're going to talk about ISO 9001. And so first, before we kick off, we have a short poll that we're going to organize. The poll would give Fred a fair idea to know what the various actors, SMEs here, knowledge level about the ISO. Even though the presentations have been done, it helps him to delve in and then also to explain certain points more. So you're all welcome to today's webinar. So please, we encourage everybody to respond to the poll as it comes up. It's just one question today. How familiar are you with ISO 9000 series? I know it all, then we can say, hey, I know it all. I have some knowledge. I've heard about it, but never tried to learn more. I am a real beginner. So let's see where you fall. We want to see where you fall in these four categories. So with the categories, Fred will now know how to push. Let's see, okay. So we encourage everybody here to please vote. Cast a vote, cast a ballot. Give us an indication where you belong, in which category you fall. And so during the explanations, he would now be able to tell you what exactly to do. So we're still waiting. Yes, soon the results will come and then the big party will be on. So whilst the voting goes on, we ask you after this, whilst it goes on, okay, so here we are. I know it all, 22%. I have some knowledge, 33. I've heard about it. Never tried to learn more, 22. Real beginners. So I would say our work is cut out for us. Only 22% know it all. So we have about 78 people we have to target. We have to encourage, we have to draw them closer to the ISO series. So on this note, we would hand over to Fred to begin the presentation. Please, as we always do, the Q&A button, please put all your questions and your challenges. You can start putting your questions as soon as Fred starts the presentation. And then once we're done with the presentations, we'll take over and answer the questions. So please enjoy your stay with us. Fred, please go ahead.
Thank you very much, As, and good morning to all our participants.
Good morning, Fred.
Very good. Before I start, I just want to bring your mind to a very important question. From the poll, I have to do this so that you try to address this misconception about ISO 9001 quality management system certification. The reason why companies like yours would like to go for ISO 9001 certification is simple, and I want us to consider this even before I start my presentation. I think you all agree with me that there's usually a point when a business is expanding and where the management or the owner of the business will start thinking about the need to actively seek certification. Seek certification to one of the popular ones is this ISO 9001, an international quality management system standard. What are the reasons? The reason could be that they are expanding their sales to include public sector consumers, where they are required to complete a pre-qualification questionnaire, mostly before you bid. And one of the most important questions is whether you are certified to any of these international management system standards. And if your answer is no, already you are at a disadvantage. In other jurisdictions, especially even within West Africa, for example, in Nigeria, they have made some of this management system certification mandatory. They call it a LAMP. If you don't have it, then bidding for public projects and government projects is a bit difficult. So I will encourage you, irrespective of the kind of work you do, because you said this standard is generic. It's good for everybody, big or small. So I will encourage you to sign on to ISO 9000 quality management system certification. At least if you don't want to go for certification, you should be able to master the concept and the benefits that you can derive from this standard certification to this particular international standard. Now, let's look at what we are doing today.
Thank you.
I'll give you, can you see my screen now? I'm sharing my screen. Can you see?
Not yet.
Still, can you see?
Not yet, Fred.
Oh, really? You tried it earlier on. So let me start again and share my screen once more. But you can see this screen now.
I can see you, but not your screen.
Maybe, can you help us?
Okay, so
still you cannot see.
No, now
I see. Is it okay now? Now you can see.
Yes, it's okay now. Yes.
Very good. Okay. So sorry for the slight challenge. Very good. So I just want to introduce you to the concept and the benefits of ISO 9001 2015, meaning that the latest edition of this international standard was published in the year 2015. And there has been some changes to the original standard. The reason being that now risk and opportunity management is becoming one of the key subjects matter for management system, irrespective of the kind of management system you should be able to address your risk and opportunity, potential and real risk. Otherwise, you stand a chance of losing or not being able to maintain your management system. So we are talking basically on quality management system, acronym QMS, based on this ISO 9001 2015 edition. We have the ISO series of standards, and the most, if you like, important one among the series is the 9001, because that is the one that contains the requirements that you should meet to be able to get certification. Now let's introduce the QMS, that is the quality management system. What is it? It is a structured collection of policies, procedures, and processes with the associated responsibility. So you are talking about a system, you are talking about management. And the three key elements that you should have: the policies, procedures, and the processes. And somebody should be made responsible for this collection of policies, procedures, and processes. These processes, procedures, and policies are all integrated into one small system or a single system. And if you are able to coordinate and manage this system well, they will work harmoniously to help you deliver your mission, your vision, your goals, and objectives. If you do not have these pillars, the policies, procedures, the processes, the associated responsibilities, it will be very difficult for you to be able to achieve your own set missions, vision, goals, and objectives. So, what will it do? What will it do? The benefits are all around trying to simplify your operations, clarify in the sense that everybody knows what is supposed to do, and then you control all this to be able to achieve your set targets or goals. The system is such that ISO has designed it to address all perceived challenges or potential challenges that you may encounter in your operation regarding management. So the question is, once you are doing business or you are in manufacturing, the issue of supply chain will pop up. So I assume that as someone who is involved in the selection of suppliers, and possibly you may be responsible for purchasing decisions. And therefore, it will not be strange for you to see that some goods and services, they promote these things using reference to the ISO 9001 2015. Or more simply, they will say ISO certified. Very simple. There are a lot of ads on the TV, airwaves, wherever, that people say, oh, this company is ISO certified. What does it mean? How can it help you? How can you be sure that your suppliers even understand what you expect? I said what? It helps you clarify, simplify, and control. That's one of the benefits. If time permits, I'll try to explain these three words in terms of how they relate to ISO 9001. You should understand that some of your suppliers or vendors may not be able to give you what you want, meaning it will be very difficult for you to achieve your vision or your target because you are not getting the right inputs. And therefore, if you are able to incorporate these concepts into your operation, then you are capable of providing consistent and conforming product, both you as a supplier or as a consumer. So, what is the purpose of this ISO 9001 in supply chain? How can this help us? The presentation that we're going to discuss today may provide some answers to these questions. I'm saying some answers because until you implement the ISO 9001 2015 standard in total, then you begin to appreciate the challenges and how you'll be able to resolve or address some of these challenges. So in the supply chain, because we are talking about we produce and the intention is to sell so that you will get your returns, you'll be able to break even, you'll be able to provide what the consumer or the end user expects from you. But you'll be mentioning ISO, ISO, ISO. What is it about? What does it mean? It is just an international organization for standardization. That's ISO. That's the meaning. And it is a worldwide federation of international standards bodies. Or if you like, the subset, we are talking about national standards bodies. They undertake the preparation of international standards on any subject matter. That is why I said this 9000 is a generic standard. And they work through technical committees. And Ghana, as a member of ISO, that International Federation of National Standard Body, participates fully in most of these technical committees to be able to formulate or develop these international standards. And our participation is very critical because if you are not involved and these international standards are prepared and promulgated and distributed, it becomes very difficult for our industry players to meet the requirements of this standard. Because the assumption is that we are all on the same page, our operations, our infrastructure, everything is the same. But that is in reality not the case. So our participation will bring these things up so that we will set a standard that will be feasible, applicable to almost all countries. The ISO 9000 series of standards is a set of formal standards. You know, standards is developed by consensus. And once it is approved, circulated and approved globally, it becomes, the working tool. And this standards, this 9000 series, is developed by one of those technical committees. It's the ISO TC. TC is the Technical Committee 176, and it deals about quality assurance, or if you like, conformity assessment, which is part and parcel of our quality infrastructure. So in that series, we have quite a number of them. The 9000, I think the last session somebody was asking whether you can implement both the 9000 and the 9001 simultaneously. The 9000 is just giving the vocabulary, the terms that want to talk about management, the appropriate terms to use. The 9001 will spell out or define all the requirements that you need to comply with for you to conform or say that you are ISO 9001 certified organization. And the 9004 will help you with the implementation, the areas that you need explanation and guidance so that you'll be able to So the 9001 to 2015 is the current standards, and it gives all the requirements for a company or organization or an institution like yours to get certification, because you've set up a system, a quality management system, QMS, which is based on the requirements of this standard. So most often you will hear the practitioners saying that is the auditable standard. That is a standard that they will use to assess, or if you like, evaluate, verify the system that you put in place and you are working with. So it is part of that family of standards, which we often refer to collectively as the ISO 9000 series. So it's a family set of standards, 9000, 9001, 9004, and other related standards. So when you see the 9000 series, it's all talking about management, quality management. So for this reason, you may sometimes hear your suppliers, it's common here in Ghana, you hear it often referred to as, oh, ISO 9000 certified, or having an ISO 9000 compliant quality management system, QMS. Please, ISO does not certify companies against these standards. It is an accredited certification body that can certify your system against these standards and give you that, if you like, a testimonial that you comply with the requirements of the ISO 9001 2015 requirement. It does not certify the personnel. It doesn't refer to your product. It is talking about your system, your policies, your procedures, and processes. So you assess this setup system against the requirements of ISO 9001. And it is the only standard in the family, the 9000, that can be used for the purpose of conformity assessment. That is certification, system certification. So ISO 9001 2015 is for system certification, not product certification, not personnel certification, not process certification, but system, that holistic thing, system certification. And the reference standard here is the 9001. So you cannot say, oh, my product is certified to ISO 9001. Sometimes you may see some products coming from some jurisdiction. I don't want to mention names. That is, say the product is ISO 9000 certified. It's wrong. You should say the company is ISO 9001 compliant or certified. It means that their system conforms to the requirements of the ISO 9001. And you should mention the year, because if your system was certified against the old standard, you should upgrade the system and go for recertification against the new standard. Anytime they revise the standard, they will give you the chance, the opportunity to upgrade your system so that you can go for recertification. And the certification cycle, because it's 3 years, you will have ample time to readjust your processes, your procedure, so that you'll be able to conform or meet the requirements of the new or the current standard. Next, please. So what is the objective of this ISO 9001? The objective basically is to promote or provide a set of requirements. So the set of requirements is defined in this standard, this document, that if, see the conditional term here, if they are effectively implemented. That is why there's a need for us to introduce you to the concept. You may have the standard, but if you are not able to implement it effectively, then it will not be beneficial. you will not derive any benefit from it. So when you read the standard, it's talking about you setting up a management system. So you should design, you set it up, document it, either your manual or whatever, and then implement it and make sure you maintain. So these 3 steps that will constitute the effective implementation of the system. And then you look at the activities that will help you to continually improve upon the system. There are several things that you do, internal audits and all kinds of management review to look at the challenges and how you go around it. That are the things that they want to see for you to demonstrate that you are able to implement the system effectively. Why would that help you? It will provide you with that confidence that you, the service provider or the manufacturer, this system cuts across either service or manufacturing. That's why I say it's generic. It's applicable to every organization. That your supplier, or if like the stakeholder, or to the extent you call it to an interested party, or the consumer, the end user, can consistently either you provide or he will receive goods and services that meet the needs and expectations, or the needs and expectations of your consumer, vice versa, because it's generic. And here, this key word here, or the phrase, needs and expectation. Some of the needs are clarified, documented, specified, others are not. But you, the service or the manufacturer provider, you should be able to perceive these needs and be able to deliver to meet the expectations of the end user. 2, it will help you comply with the applicable national and international regulation. This is where the challenge is. Your buyer, consumer, end user will be okay with the quality of your system, consistent quality delivery, whatever. You deliver on time, everything is in place, you are meeting your expectation. You visit them, try to analyze their complaints and provide solution and all that. The second part is, in addition to this, you should be able to comply with the national and international regulation. Now, it says standard, the application of standard is voluntary. But the truth of the matter is that the de facto mandatory requirement. And I mentioned earlier that in some jurisdictions, to be able to even bid for some of these projects, competitive bidding, they expect you to have this base and this basic attestation, certification that you have a system that will help you generate consistent quality for other product or service. In addition to that, what is a philosophy? Because of all these things that you've talked about, there is a philosophy. And the philosophy is simple, that quality is built in at each stage of your operation, from raw material sourcing or acquisition, the production, what is where you add the value, because I said it's a process. You see all the process coming into play. The production or manufacturing, as you want it, the marketing, the delivery, and in modern terms, even the post-delivery activity. Quality. And what is quality? Fit for purpose. The degree at which we meet those basic requirements, the needs and expectations of the end user on consistent and continual basis. Okay, you have a system in place to address some of those defects, even to predict and address them along the processes. So you do this through a formal and systematic management system to ensure conformance to requirements. Quality. So that is why you need a product standard to be able to define the quality characteristics. You are talking about fit for purpose, meeting the characteristics, the features of that product that you call either shea butter, soap, pomade, whatever, or pineapple juice, or squash, or whatever. This is the philosophy. Quality is built in at each stage, even at the time that you are recruiting your staff. The aim is just to provide consistent output. Consistent output, which is fit for purpose. Fit for purpose at minimal cost. Because I have a different opinion when people say quality is expensive. Quality is not expensive if you are able to come out with consistent quality at minimal cost. And there are certain things that you have to do to be able to achieve this. You provide the highest quality, but at minimal cost. And these are some of the benefits we talk about. The emphasis is on prevention rather than inspection. So you focus at the planning stage is to cut down waste, defective products. If you do that, if you are able to prevent, you are not reacting, you are preventing. So very few will go through, and therefore we have minimal corrections or rework to do. So when you look at the cost element, we provide the highest quality because we have process controls, in-process controls and all that. So the minimal cost. When you spread it around, the production cost is low. So the cost price of each item is low because we're taking care of all those wastes, the things that will build up the cost in your production cycle. So prevention rather than inspection, because inspection at the end of the day, it is bad, it's defective. What do you do? You add rework. Rework is money, manpower, energy, and everything, even the packaging. So you build up the cost. So prevent it by putting in place in-process controls and things like that. That will help you come out with the highest quality at minimal cost. Operations are guided by documentation and records. How you do those things, the best way should not be in somebody's head. And if the person is not available tomorrow, the knowledge is gone. So we said document it. In the 9,000, we say what? Documented information and records. Keep the records so that you can go back to check where you went wrong. And that is how you build quality in your process or in your product at each step of the operation. Then also, traceability. Traceability. You should be able to trace back. ISO will give you some of those guidelines or the requirements that you ought to meet to be able to trace back. The concept here is that one step forward, one step backward. And you actually trace whether you are doing lot production or batch production. You should have a way of identifying the products that belong to that particular batch or lot. So now let's try to look at some of the requirements of this particular standard, the ISO 9001. If you could realize, it's like almost all my references, I'm talking about ISO 9001 because that's where the requirements are. The 9000 will only give you the vocabulary, the explanation, the terms. So it's a glossary of term words. But it's a 9000 that will give you the specifics in terms of requirements. So all my emphasis is on the 9001, not the 9000. Though the 9000 is part of that set of standards, the family 9,000. And I want to emphasize on this so that you know the distinction or the difference between the 9,000 and the 9,001. The requirements of this 9,001, wide range of topics. We're talking about top management commitments. In other words, top management's responsibility to quality. Okay? The requirements referring to the customer focus. I always say that without a customer, you have no business. Because you get the things, you transform them, is the input, you add the value transformation, and you get the output, and it sits in your warehouse. Who's going to buy it? You need a customer. So the customer focus should be part and parcel of your planning. Then you should have, in terms of the adequacy of resources, you should know how much you need to produce 1 ton of, let's say, cassava flour. Talking about resources, who will convert this raw material into the final product. Machinery, energies, water, whatever, utilities. And then the employee competence. Has that person been trained to handle the mill? Assuming you are milling raw cassava, or you are kneading something, or you are trying to homogenize something. The person has to be trained, that employee, and should be competent. Competent, 3 elements. Key, please always remember this. Skills, education, and experience put together. So you'll be able to translate that knowledge, that theoretical knowledge, into practice. That is employee competence. So if you can write beautiful essay and you cannot use that thing to solve problems in the organization or the institution, I will not classify you as a competent staff. You should be able to bring to bear your experience and skills to transform, to provide solutions to challenges or problems that you encounter in your routine operation. We are looking at process management for the production, service delivery, administrative and supportive services. So in the standard, you know that you are tackling the core operation, that is what you are set up to do, and the other support processes like logistics, sales, marketing, accounting. Okay? You should be able to mix the two, let them interact so that you get the best out of that interaction and interrelationship. It talks about quality planning, your product design, vis-a-vis the expectation of the consumer, vis-a-vis the requirements, the legal and regulatory requirements, process management, quality planning, review of incoming orders so that you stock. So your logistic people should have their minimum stock order. You should have a way of tracing, have a system, first in, first out, so that you don't have expired products or raw materials in your warehouse or store. Quality planning. Your purchasing is well structured. Monitoring and measurement of all these processes, because I told you the ISO is all about your policies, your processes, and procedures. And you have to harmonize that so that you'll be able to achieve your mission, vision, targets, objectives, what have you. Okay? It's all comes with the planning. Then you should have the processes to resolve customer complaints. If I visit you and say you don't have any means, mechanism to measure customer satisfaction, or even to collect customer complaints and address them effectively, then you have a problem. You are not implementing the requirements of ISO 9000. Corrective and preventive actions. The beauty of this standard, because we are talking about risk and opportunity management, is that the action that we need to take to address this. The whole system is a corrective or a preventive system. So normally you have very few complaints, and therefore your corrective actions and how you address this corrective action will translate into a preventive action. So first of all, when you collect all these complaints, try to investigate the root cause. We call it the root cause analysis. Very robust and comprehensive. If you're able to do that, then you come out with a corrective action plan. So that anytime there's an issue, an error, a non-conformity, that is non-conformity meaning you are not meeting the required standards or the specifications. How do you address this? And the requirements for continual improvement. That is some activities to drive continual improvement. Not continuous, it's continual. Because always you have to look at it, monitor, evaluate, and then you move on. So it's the stepwise kind of improvement. There are several activities that can help you do that. One of such is the internal quality audits. It's about the verification, it's about management review, it's about addressing complaints, it's about implementing your corrective action recommendations so that quality is built in at each stage of your process. Let's continue. The 9001 does not specify requirements for the goods or service that either you are purchasing or you are producing. It will only specify the requirements for the system. So when you're talking about the information gathering, the collation, you should have the specific product standards, the specific codes of practices, so that you'll be able to meet both the expectation of the consumer or the end user and the regulatory agencies. So it is up to you, the manufacturer or the purchaser, to define the requirements, what you expect. So make clear your own needs and expectations. And sometimes you even have to read the mind of the end user of your product or service so that you'll be able to meet those requirements. For example, you should refer to the product specification. The question is, where do you get the product specification? You go to the product standard and you find the requirements or the specification. Sometimes you have to look at the drawing, the prototype, national or international product standards. You should also look at the supplier's catalog or other documents as appropriate to be able to define the requirements for the product. And you plan and you try to meet those requirements because you know the sources can be it will vary, it will come from different places, but at the end of the day, do your search to be able to understand the requirements of the product. Sometimes, even the product definition. Why are you calling it black soap? You're calling it black soap because you're talking about potash is obtained from what? Natural sources, not some kind of inorganic or some kind of artificial ingredients, but it said natural. It should be organic. Organic, not inorganic. And that will define a product. Fit for purpose. The next place. So now let's try to ask the question I posed earlier. I said, at a certain point in your business or your manufacturing process, you will expand. And therefore, you'll be tempted to seek for what? Certification, so that you'll be able to grow your business. And so that you can sell on the global market. So why is it important? One of them, there are several, but let's list a few. Globalization. You want to enter other markets, other international, even sub-regional markets. And I told you some to show that testimonial, that certification, that you have a system that will ensure that you are giving consistent quality and you are able to manage. Here you are looking at even the environment, occupational health and safety issues about your operations, the environmental concerns. Okay, how do you dispose of your waste? There should be a system that will address that. Whatever you're doing, look at the customer, say customer focus. So it's customer driven because you've actually anticipated and even planned to take care of the customer requirements. And if you're able to do that, then you say your production, your operation, everything is driven by the customer. And I mentioned this in the management principles we discussed last week or so. The seventh principle. It will also help you to improve your competitiveness, which is the philosophy behind this WACOMP, the West Africa Competitiveness Program. Competitiveness, open market, market access, because you have the right standard, you have the right system. So please, you control the system so that you can survive and grow. Put in place all the things that will make your business very, very robust. You have all the operations that will make you resilient. So in spite of the turbulence, in spite of the challenges posed by COVID-19, you'll be able to survive and even improve your operations and therefore grow. The basic for continuous improvement is all within this ISO 9001. So if you're able to implement it well, then the improvement, the growth will come, because you have access to other international or sub-regional markets. What are some of the internal benefits? Control of all operations and better communication. I said what? It simplifies. If you're able to collect all these things and implement them well, it will simplify your operations and it will engender better communication. Why? Sometimes you have to do site visits. Visit your key stakeholders, your consumers, to understand their expectations, their needs, so that you'll be able to communicate well. You do not assume anything, because there's a potential risk in there. And in risk management, you're either trying to what? Reduce the risk or share the risk. Because you say, give me A, and say, I don't have what it takes to provide A, but I will give you A minus B. Are you okay with it? You say, I'm okay. You still have a business. So better communication among all the departments, so that logistics will not go and bring something what is substandard, and production will say, yeah, we cannot use this raw material. And even if you're able to produce, the packaging material is not suitable for that purpose. But when there's better communication, you resolve all these problems at the planning stage. Your workforce or the staff will become accountable, as they are made responsible for certain tasks and authorized to take decisions. So you are purchasing cloth. You don't wait for the production manager to come and tell you that what brought in is not good, is substandard. You are accountable, and because you know your role. That is why the clarification is there. The roles and responsibility, well defined, comes with the authority for you to take decisions. And here you also apply the management principle standard. Decisions based on facts, based on things that you think you can justify, based on some of these quality principles, because you interact and you liaise with other heads of department to come out with the appropriate decision. What is it? The internal benefit. One of them, key, if I should say, trained and motivated workforce. Look, when you train your staff well, the confidence level is high because they understand the product, they understand your processes, they understand the operations because they feel they are well trained, they have the competence, they have the experience, they have the knowledge, and that will lead to what? Motivated workforce. Cost reduction, because you are not making mistakes. By reduced rework means that the thing is not compliant, it's not conforming, it doesn't meet the requirements, defined requirements, if you like. And therefore you rework. If you like, you call it recycle, go back. But in management, production, rework is different from recycle. So let's use the terminology here, the appropriate terminology here. It's rework. You try to make it correct, take away the defects. Rejection and waste, you cut down, because some of them you cannot rework, and therefore you have to just reject it, and that will lead to waste. What is the effect? The consequence here is that effective utilization of your scarce resource. You don't have that much water to waste. What are some of the practical examples? I cannot talk about the internal benefit without giving some specifics. So practical examples here. You drive down cost. That's why you come out with the best quality at minimal cost. You increase productivity. Look at the equation of productivity, input, the transformer value addition, and output. And all of them is giving you almost 90%. Input is correct, very few defective raw materials. You have skilled manpower, so the transformation, the value addition is on point. The finished product, very few defects, and therefore less testing and inspection. So the productivity will increase. Within that period, you are not generating waste, you are not doing rework, you are not rejecting. So productivity automatically, productivity will go high. And I said you boost customer satisfaction because they have trust in your quality. The regulatory agencies will not come and harass you because they know you are doing the right thing. Your system will address some of these deficiencies on its own. You increase sales because the customer is happy, is satisfied, he has the confidence in you. You have access to other markets because you have all the things that it takes to come out with consistent and very good quality. It will improve your performance, reduce the wasted resources because you don't even have them enough. And it will help you expand into new sectors. Like I said earlier on, you said the government or the public sector is the biggest buyer. So if you are able to go into those areas because you have what it takes, you have the certification, you have the testimonial to show proof that you are capable of delivering quality, consistent at affordable cost. You go into that area, in that sector. So you are serving both the private and the public sectors. Good business. It will enhance your reputation, corporate image. When they mention your name, it is associated with what? Quality, high performance. These are some of the practical benefits you can derive. Let's look at the external. We are talking about being a global partner, giant, be a stakeholder. So the worldwide recognition and credibility. They will not buy the product and say, are you going for this particular product? Then you are going for trouble. That thing is not like when they mention your product, it's associated with credibility. The recognition is good, it's positive, right? Access to the European market, because we are talking about WACOMP and you're talking about the EU and you're talking about EU. One of your target markets is the European market. Please, if you are not conforming to this basic quality system, standards, forget it. Having access will be very difficult. So you are talking about WACOMP making you competitive based on what? Access, gaining access to this market so that you'll be able to grow your business. So you are talking about you are promoting what? Exports. But you cannot promote exports if you don't have access to this sophisticated markets, like the European market and other markets globally. It will also qualify to bid for new contracts, because what are some of the things that they need apart from your tax returns and all that? You're talking about a testimonial, a certificate that will help you enter those markets. And you need a certificate like the ISO 9000 quality management system standard. It means that your name is associated with what? Quality. You have what it takes to manage quality. Okay? Improve corporate quality image. You see, I've highlighted some of those things. Not, I mean, how big in terms of the financial gain. You're a big guy, you have a lot of money. But when it comes to quality, you are nowhere. So here you're talking about improved corporate quality image. There are certain products, when you mention, everybody will associate that product quality. And that's what you should aim at. It will also provide you the tool for motivating your suppliers to conform. I told you the supply chain. The one who is bringing the raw material, that is the input, is aware of the quality. The quality is key, and will give you quality raw material so that you can also add value to what he has given you, so that you come out with a final product which is of the highest quality at minimal cost. Reduction in customer audit requests, because when your product or service is associated with rampant complaints, then the buyer, if you want to stay with you, will increase its quality audit request. Audit means that they are coming to verify, check your system whether you are capable of delivering what they want, their needs, whether you are able to meet their expectation in terms of quality. And then also quality assessment demands. You go for quality evaluation test, you fail. You go the second time, you fail. You go the third time, you fail. So now it becomes something that is a routine. For you, you have to increase the requests for assessment, because you cannot be trusted. Your quality is always questionable. But if you are able to go around this will reduce the request for audit and even testing. So the external benefits, quite a lot. Now, let me give a few testimonials. I have some of the video clips and a few testimonials I picked from there. Someone will tell you in the past, when he started, he could not even dream of tendering for big contracts because he's scared he cannot meet those requirements. But now, the invitation to tender is big, because they count him, this company, among the big guys who can deliver in terms of big contracts coming from the public or the private sector. It also were able to expand their international business, because that brand, like the share-based products, needed all over in the Americas, in Europe. in the Arab states, all over the place. So if you're able to implement this very well, effectively and efficiently, then you'll be able to expand your international business. And some companies have done that, and that is the testimony that they give. It also enabled them to trade with the blue chip companies. When you talk about the top class cosmetic companies elsewhere in Europe and the Americas, they will only seek supplies from companies like yours. But the bottom line is that, are you capable? Do you have the quality systems in place to deliver? Because, like you said, monkeys play by sizes. They are blue chip companies. They wouldn't like any other company to, if you like, jeopardize their corporate image because your supplies are questionable. So it will enable you because of your quality. You stand for quality and you have what it takes to deliver quality products. Obviously, that will help you grow your client base. It's a lot more will buy, both the blue chips and the SMEs, whatever. Corporate bodies talking about public institutions, they all buy from you because your quality at some point is good. So I mentioned this earlier, quality management system. How can that help you? How can the system help you? It will help you to simplify your operations because everybody, both your internal customers and external customers, will understand what you do. Very simple. You have your processes, you have your procedures, everything clear, documented so that they can understand what you do. To the extent that sometimes you create catalog that will define or even explain what you do in details. You clarify the roles and responsibility of all the staff, both management, technical, and supporting staff. And you have what it takes to control all those processes so that you'll be able to reduce wastage. You'll be able to correct defects. You'll be able to communicate and even address complaints. So you're talking about you are able to simplify, clarify, and control your company operations and processes. That is the best thing to do. So in selecting your vendor, supplier or vendor, the 9,000 will provide some requirements for the purchasing processes. What are some of the requirements? You are talking about how to select and evaluate your vendor. The requirements are there. So you have the checklist. So it will give you the requirements regarding the purchasing information. So that if I say I want to buy from you, but I will need the MSDS, Material Safety Data Sheet. That will be one of the things that I need to see or check to qualify you as a regular supplier or as a vendor. So it will provide the supplier with clear understanding of what you want, your needs, your expectation, when you need it, in which form, the packaging. Are you using weighing scales or you are using calabash to weigh your shea butter? The ways in which supply product can be verified is also in the standard, so that you verify and say, yes, it's acceptable or it's not acceptable. So you have the criteria for rejection or acceptance. Now, after discussing how this standard can even help you in the selection of your supplier or vendor, let's try to draw some conclusion. I've mentioned the collection of procedures, processes, and policies. So the approach what we call the process approach. What does it mean? Just a set of interrelated or interactive activities that use inputs to deliver an intended result. Meaning, when before you set up your plan, you know where you want to go, you know the target. So you set that target and you use these activities, interrelated and interactive activities, to achieve that target. That is why the process approach, we are referring to three key elements: the input, the transformation, and then the output. If you like, the input, the value addition stage. I'm very interested in the value addition stage. That is the transformation to get you the desired output so that you'll be able to sell and make money. And this is in the ISO 9000. And you can apply this to any operations, regardless of the size of the organization and even the system that you are operating on. Whether it is very small, that is in terms of size, or very complicated, the big time, the blue chips, this ISO 9001 can be applied across board. So in management, you say it's a generic standard. Now let's see, how can we go for some of this attestation and the certification? In Ghana, the quality management system certification, I'm not talking about product certification, quality management system certification. There are several of such accredited bodies in Ghana. But one that comes to mind, and it is, if you like, subsidized by GOD, Ghana government, through the Ministry of Industry and Trade, is Ghana Standards Board. They provide quality management system, especially in the 9000 and some food safety systems like the ASAP and then the ISO 22000. In addition to their product certification scheme. So there is a system certification scheme at Ghana Standards Board that can give you affordable certification, equally recognized anywhere in the world. They offer that scheme that addresses your management system issues. For example, your 9000, and that's ISO, the ISO 14000, that is environmental system. The 22000, we are talking about the food safety system, and then the hazard-based food safety system certification. I said system certification. And there are other international accredited certification bodies. I say accredited certification, not self-acclaimed certification bodies. Accredited by IAF, the National Accreditation Forum. They are also operating here in Ghana. Examples: SGS, Control Union Certification, TUV, Intertech, Moody, PECB. These are all international accredited certification bodies that can help you get the certification. Once again, I want to encourage that at a certain point in time, you grow your business. And that's where you realize that you need certification against any of these international standards that I've mentioned. So please expand your business and go for the things that will help you benefit from other international markets. We're talking about access, and you need these things as tools to access those global markets. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Fred. Yes, so thank you very much for again taking us through this educative presentation. Whilst maybe you catch your breath by taking maybe a glass of water, I would attempt to read. Yeah, because you've gone for an hour and a half for almost telling us all that there is. And maybe I won't attempt to recap. What I really like is that your last statement, which says that it can be applied to any organization irrespective of size or complexity. I think that is my take home, because the comments you've always been getting is that, oh, I'm too small, how can I apply? But I like the way you went through all the presentation. So thank you very much. The questions are coming in. Please let them come in fast and thick. The first one is talking about cost.
Correct.
That for startups, what is usually the cost associated with ISO going through the cost of getting certified?
Okay. Should I answer now?
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay. There are two, the cost component, there are two. Having somebody, I'll call a coach or a practitioner, to help you establish your system and implement. But that cost is variable. It depends on where you are in terms of implementing some of this quality system, the way you structure your management. So you should have some policies documented. I'm saying documented, either written down or you have some soft copies of that. Then you should have a copy of the standard official copy that you obtain from GSA or from ISO, but you pay the foreign equivalent, foreign currency equivalent. And then you start putting the systems in place. Train your people so that when you bring in the coach or the practitioner, because they charge based on how long they stay and mentor or coach your system. The second component is the certification fee, which is determined by the certification body, the accredited certification body. That one too is variable because it depends on the size and the complexity. And the size, you are talking about whether it is only one site, that is the operations from maybe only the head office, or you have the head office and other branches.
Multiple
so
sites.
use multiple sites. So they will determine that. So it is the size and the complexity and even the operational centers that will determine the certification fee. But all in all, that is why I mentioned GSA, which is subsidized by government, by GOG. So the fee is affordable. But when it comes to the setting up the consultancy fee, there are people who is like they're providing a pro bono service, so they don't charge much. And sometimes you can even use your own staff to set up the system. You bring in somebody just to review the system and see whether you are ready for certification. So you prepare the system, implement the system, allow it to mature before you apply for certification. So the two different set of costs.
All right. So maybe just also to add to what Fred have said, I think in our previous presentations, I indicated that WACOMP, as part of our support to the industry, would also be providing coaches who would help some of the companies who are ready to go for this certification. So please, like I indicated last week, you get in touch with our various reps. Now, Chair for cosmetics, Joseph for cassava and derivatives, and Frank for the fruits sector, so that we can be able to pair the companies and get the coaches to start the processes. We haven't received any names as of now. So please, let's get to work and then we can move on with this as fast as possible. Thank you very much. Yes, the other question somebody wants to know, I think the question is more about reassurance, that how do companies like SGS who provide certification, how sure are we that they are going to the right channels to provide these certification services?
I don't think I'm in the position to answer that question. In other jurisdictions, they have the National Accreditation Board,
okay,
which is equivalent to the IAF. I mentioned the IAF, International Accreditation Forum. They are the supervisors, if you like, they are the regulators to ensure that the certification bodies are doing the right things. No conflict of interest. They will not come and coach you or send their staff to coach you and turn around and come as certification body. No, but I don't know for sure because I hear that we are trying to establish one. Whilst I was in Abuja, that was one of the key points that ECOWAS was trying to get at least a regional accreditation body that will supervise the activities of all the certification bodies. So the accreditation body is higher up there, that is the umbrella body, supervising and regulating all the certification bodies. But in our part of the world, I don't think we have that. So you all subscribe to IAF, International Accreditation Forum. So that's why I say accredited certification bodies. Go to their website, And then there is a place that you can use to check whether they are truly accredited by any of these international groups.
Okay, thank you. Maybe a follow-up. Somebody is also asking, can you get SGS and Co to certify you without having to do anything with GSA if you don't want the service of GSA?
Oh, of course, they are competitors. GSA is a certification body accredited. SGS accredited certification body. Bureau Veritas, TUV, Intertech, Moody, they are all accredited. So they are all competitive. They are all competing for the same service certification. So
All right.
you are free, depending on the cost. Yes, your money, your pocket will determine where you go.
I like that. But again, Fred also indicated that GSA gives some form of rebates because it also has government subvention. So maybe
correct. It's the cheapest so far. I'm not doing any marketing for them, but I was part and parcel of that. Was the concept why we came out with affordable certification service in Ghana, supported by the European Union, implemented by UNIDO. So I'm very confident that you will get the cheapest rate so far, because it's not a multinational. It's a home.
There's a question that you didn't mention FDA in all these things. Why? Is there a reason?
FDA, sorry, FDA is not a certification body. FDA is a regulator. They don't certify systems. Okay?
Yeah.
There's a regulator that you can come and check whether you are doing it, because they are also subject to accreditation. So they don't certify your systems. It's part of their regulation, monitoring, and evaluation. But the system that you are operating on, you should be certified by an accredited certification body.
Yes, there's a question here. I think the question is asking somebody who is producing organic oils. Correct. If you want to get ISO certification, that's possible.
Correct. That is organic certification.
Yes.
So you have accredited organic certification bodies in Ghana. Though expensive, but it's doable.
Okay. But he wants to certify the system as ISO.
Correct. Or you certify your organic production system.
Yes, the organic production system as ISO, yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So yes, Sylvester, that is possible. So now the question is that somebody also wants to know if he or she needs to get ISO 9000 to be certified ISO 9001, or by just complying with the requirements, he can actually market him or herself as an ISO 9001 compliance. This is from Francisca.
Correct. Francisca, is a good question. ISO 9000 certification, or any, for that matter, any system certification is not mandatory.
Fred, just a moment. We've exhausted the questions in the box. So if you have any other questions, as we are wrapping up, please, you can put in your questions. So after this, we can take the next round. Please go ahead, Fred.
Yes. So it's not a mandatory requirement. But I said it. If you really want to compete on the global market, it's an added advantage. It will give you that comparative advantage, because it's one of the basic things that they expect any reputable organization or company to have. It's a testimonial to show proof. So you may implement the system and go for what is called your own declaration that you comply with the ISO 9001 requirements. Okay, you have the system, it is working fine, but that self-declaration has some limitation. Who is there to, if you like, give that evidence, that testimony, right? Like going to court, you say you don't have anybody to testify on your behalf. You are in big trouble. So that is why, after some time, if you feel that you are growing and you need some kind of attestation, then you go for a certificate. In that case, it becomes very cheap because you are already compliant. So all they do is that the certification board will come and conduct their stage 1 and stage 2 audits, and then you are done. But if you are starting from scratch, sometimes you have to even do some pre-audits, and it's all money. So it's not mandatory, but you have the advantage. The comparative advantage is there when you go for a certification.
All right.
Self-declaration is allowed.
There's a question that is making me laugh small. Yeah, can WACOMP fund the implementation of the systems for SMEs too? I think we are all SMEs here.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Funding the implementation itself, I think we would do, what we have said is that, like Fred said, there are various variable costs. And one of the variable costs that WACOMP would want to absorb is to get you the coach to help you set up the systems and help you put in all the things. The cost of paying for the certification itself is something else. That's another variable cost we may discuss later on. But what we have put our heads on the table that we want to do is to help you put the systems in place, and that we're going to get you the do. So that's the first cost that we as a project are ready to absorb. Okay, so Fred, the next question is from, what would be the importance to certify a consulting cabinet? Or maybe he's trying to write French. Okay, what I think what's the importance of certifying a consulting firm or management system? I think that's what.
Very good, very good. That is a very good question. Good question in the sense that there are a lot of people parading the corridors of West Africa that they are a management system consultant. But there are certain things that you have to go through to become one. Okay. And even the training aspect, you should be an ICA, which is the International Registered Certification Group, is based in UK, to assess or if you like validate your processes and come out to say that yes, you have what it takes, you are competent enough to conduct that training, the coaching for companies, SMEs or whatever. But a lot of people, they don't have that, and they are still parading the corridors that they are practitioners. Demand that that person should show proof of his certificate as a practitioner. There are two organizations global, but Asians have formed their own. So it's ICA, or from US, we have those ones that will give you that, if you like, the license to operate as a practitioner. So you, the consumer, you have the right to ask that. Some companies, before they even give you the contract, they look for that, because any trained ICA thing have your license number. Okay. It's just like your ATM card.
Good. Thank you very much.
Yes. Thank you too.
Yes. I think even these days, the Bank of Ghana even requires that the banks in Ghana are ISO certified. And even these days, when they advertise themselves, they say, I'm so and so bank, I'm ISO.
You mentioned the specific ISO, especially to 27,000.
27,000 ISO information system security.
And then the risk management, management, the 32,000 series.
Yes.
So these are all, they'll take you through the same process. That's why the 9,000 is beautiful. The same processes to establish the system, implement the system, audit the system, get it mature, and subject yourself to the initial certification audit. And when you are through, they'll give you the certificate.
All right. We want to remind all our listeners we put in measures that on the 20th of November, we'll have an ISO 22716 presentation, GMPs for cosmetics producers. So all the cosmetic producers, spread the word, block your date, 20th November, same time, 11 a.m. Come for the ISO 22716 GMPs for cosmetic producers. Come and get more information on how to implement your ISO systems. Again, we keep reminding all SMEs, just get in touch. This is a service, we've said this over and over, and so far nobody has come. It's a service, the plate is served, the food is served. We are calling people, come and let's eat. Come, call us, let's get the coaches to come and support you. So please give your details and your names to Na. Don't give her peace, call her, call Joseph, call Frank, give your names to them, and then we will get people to help. We want our producers, like Fred said in the beginning, which I wrote down, that if we implement it effectively, then we'll be able to give our customers what they want. And like Francesca asked, even if you are not certified and you are ISO compliant, it helps you to put in systems in place and your management systems, everything becomes well meaningful. So today, again, it's been a wonderful hour and a half with our ISO expert, with Mr. Fred Jamna. We thank you, Fred, so much for today. We thank you all who spent time with us. We believe you've had your time's worth. You've had a nice time with us. We've also enjoyed your company. And we believe that we'll go back with knowing the benefits of ISO, and where we have challenges, we'll get into. Once again, from the WACOMP team, we want to say that we are welcoming all of you back next week, next 2 weeks. No, it's 3 weeks time, actually, yes. 20th. Yes, in 3 weeks time, and then we would be able to come. Yes, so give your contacts to Frank, to Na, and to Joseph. And sometimes I get some calls very late. Please, as much as we want to work, let's limit the calls to working hours. Sometimes the calls that come at 9 and 10 p.m., it's a bit strange for us, so that we can all be healthy, so that we can rest. And then within working hours, we are ever ready to take your call. Yes. On this note, we want to thank all of you so much. Thank my colleague, Ebe, who saved the situation once again when the Fred's PC decided not to share with us. Thank you all, and we look forward to meeting again. Thank you so much. Have a nice day. Somebody just dropped the very last question. I hope this should be it. So when will be the other session? The other session I said will be on the 20th. Please, the next session will be on 20th of November. That is the 20th November. We have some time. The flyers are running around. We'll post it on our various social media handles, so you look for it, and we'll send the reminders out through our experts. We're looking forward to meeting you all on the 20th. In between, I think those of you on the other programs will meet, and then we'll connect. On this note, keep safe, have a very good, relaxing weekend, and then keep safe, and then we meet on the 20th. Till then, have a nice day from the WACOMP team. Bye-bye.